My name's Eric. My wife is Laura, and I have two boys, Tucker and Hunter. And Tucker, like she said, was with me during the accident. But we attend Lebanon Christian Church in Artemis, and my wife and I are also members of the Honor Bound Motorcycle Ministry. But this is the biggest crowd I've talked in front of, so I'm a little nervous. But
This is family.
yeah. Kind of doing something a little different too. I've shared my testimony in past churches, but I'm speaking at another church next week. My cousin attends, and she asked me if I had scripture to go with it. And first I was like, I'm not a pastor. I'm just sharing my testimony. But the more and more I thought about it, it's kind of laid it on my heart that maybe I should put some scripture in and that goes along with what I'm talking about, and what I really. I care. Everybody cares about the Bible, but these verses mean a lot to me that I've found and what I've kind of gone through. But before we get into that, to get into my testimony, it starts way before the accident ever happened. So I got to go back to, where it all started at. I grew up. I went to church, but my parents didn't. My dad took me, so he did the right thing there. He took me to church, but then he just dropped me off and didn't go with me. So I grew up with my cousins and stuff in church is how it went. But I got baptized when I was a kid. But when I got out of high school, I kind of walked away from the Lord for a while. I'm sure several of you may have the same experience. But I met my wife, and we were dating, and I started going back to church, mainly just to please her mom so I could date her daughter. But yeah, so we went to church, but my heart still wasn't in it, and we got married, and then we both quit going to church for a while, and then, the kids come along, and she starts going back to church, and I'm like, well, I better go, at least have my face there for boys. And it doesn't help that our pastor is also my wife's uncle, so it's family, you want to look good for family, so I went to church, but she became a member of our church, and I didn't. Everyone's like, well, Laura's a member, why aren't you? I knew I was doing wrong, but I guess I wasn't ready, or I don't know what the case was. I didn't want to be a hypocrite, so I didn't want to be a member of the church. And then Uncle Tom, Pastor Tom, he was preaching one day, and he decided we need to have a prayer night, and we still have these prayer nights every couple months. And it's not getting together and listening to the preacher. We get down and we pray for hours. Sometimes I think the longest it's went, 2 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, you need to be there, you need to be there. And I was like, well, I guess I better at least go and have my face there. But you didn't want to bring kids because it want to be a time of serious. You're trying to pray and you hear don't run into the church. So we didn't have a babysitter that night, so I went first. I figured I'd go first. I'd only stay for a little bit and then come home, and then Laura can go. But as we were praying, he had us praying for the person next to us, and the person that prayed for me happened to be Laura's Aunt Tracy, Pastor Tom's wife. And as she's praying about my boys and me being a father. And I thought I was nervous. I've never been a crier before, so this is new. So, since the accident, it seems like Tracy said she can't help it. I can't help it. It just comes. But and I've seen the story several times. You think I'd be able to get over it. But yeah, she prayed for me about being a father and what I was doing for my boys. And I'm thinking, am I being the right kind of father for my boys? And I drank a lot. I smoked. Luckily, I don't think they really remember a lot of it. But I come home, afterwards, and like I said, I've never been really much of a crier. And I walked into the bedroom, and I told her, I said, I was crying. I said, I'm going to change. I'm going to stop what I'm doing, and I did. It took a lot, I've tried quitting smoking and drinking a bunch of times, but this time I gave it to the Lord and He took it from me. So I decided to become a member of the church, And our brother Chad, he was on about, but at the time, he didn't even have a bike, you know. He noticed a difference in me at church, and he gave me his brother Rick's number. You all know Rick. And I never called him. I rode my motorcycle for, I think, about 2 years without ever having an inspection. And I wanted to call him, but I kept telling Laura, I said, I can't go ride with these Christian guys with a bike with no inspection, you know. So I never called him. And then one day the phone rings, and I seen him calling ID as a Rick Layton, and I was like, oh, man, you know. So he invited me to go to the Hope House ride. It was the first one they ever had. And that's kind of how I got started into Honor Bound. You know, I rode with him for 2 years before I even decided to pursue it. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to fall back and my faith is where it needed to be. But it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And being in an accident, you know, that's what I get asked a lot. You know, you're going to ride again. And, you know, sometimes it makes me mad because some of the nurses in the hospital would be real smug about it. Like, did you learn your lesson, you know, because I ride a motorcycle. You know, but my thing is, if the Lord didn't want me to ride a motorcycle, He wouldn't have called me to a motorcycle ministry. I would have been called to some other kind of ministry, not a motorcycle ministry, you know. So, but, you know, when they would ask me that, I'd get mad, but then I'd get to tell them, well, you know, for a matter of fact, I ride in a motorcycle ministry. And that would open up questions. And when I was in the hospital, I got to share, you know, about the motorcycle. Well, what does the motorcycle ministry do? You know, what do they do? So it would open doors, and, you know, I got to talk to a lot of nurses and a lot of people in the hospital about Jesus because they would ask me that question, and I'd be, you know, be able to turn it over. But one of the things I really like to touch on when I talk, and these are the scriptures I'm going to get into now, is the power of prayer. The power of prayer is what made me give my life back to the Lord, because I had somebody praying for me. And that's also the importance of having a church and somebody to fellowship with. I was in a church fellowshipping and praying. So the power of prayer brought me to Jesus and a fellowship with everybody there, but Aunt Tracy, you know, brought me to the Lord. So I got a verse here I want to kind of read. I got two of them, but I'm just going to read the one for now. The first one's Matthew 21:22. It says, "In all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive." So that's saying if you believe in what you're praying, and you believe in the power of the Lord and Jesus Christ, you have Jesus Christ in your heart, and you believe in prayer, you shall receive in what you believe in. Okay, now I got another one I want to read, but first I need my wife to come down here and bring that with you. I only did this once at my church, but it went over so well. We don't put stuff on Facebook anymore. And, you know, I've come a long way, and I've had my church praying for me. I've got cards from your church, I mean, with, you know, riding with John and Pastor Jonathan. And I've had prayers from every direction. And I just, not doing this to show off. I want you guys to see what the power of prayer does. I couldn't do this for a long time. It took me a long time just to stand up. I could never stand. And when I started walking, they would hold my leg and I'd have to hop. I have power in my leg that I can walk. And this is from Jesus, and it's from all you believing in the power of prayer. And the power of prayer, I mean, I've always believed in it, but I don't know, we don't know why, you know, we're learning about healing in the meetings we do in Honor Bound. You know, the Lord doesn't want you down or sick or everything, but sometimes I don't think you turn to the Lord until you need Him, you know. I thought my faith was strong, but after this accident, I've never been up in front of a church speaking before this accident, you know. I could speak to somebody one-on-one, but to get up in front of a whole group of people like this, I'd have never done it. And, He's been using me. I've been giving myself to the Lord for Him to use me. And, I don't know why it happened. I think maybe for this reason. I have several, we don't know why things happen. I have several guesses. I'll know one day when I'm up there with Him and He tells me, you listen to me, it took this to do it, but you've done what I asked. I want to go through the pearly gates and hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. Thank you. But yeah, the power of prayer to me is, I can feel it, you know what I mean? You can see it. So I want to read the next verse to you. I don't want to stand the whole time. Backwards is a little different. I can't feel that for you anyhow, so. I read out the old King James Version, so it might be a little different, but you can look these verses up if you want, but I promise I took it right out of the Bible. The second verse is Mark 11:24. It's very similar to the first one, but these two really stuck out at me. It says, "Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them." So, that's basically saying the same thing. If you believe in what you're praying, you shall receive what you're praying for. But the other power of prayer, I told you my parents didn't go to church. My dad used to be my drinking buddy. When I went out, that was the relationship we had. I think that's, if you knew my dad, please don't repeat. but I was afraid I wasn't going to have a relationship with my dad, and it was kind of weird at first because when I quit drinking, he's like, when we go to town, he likes to stop into the Redmond, and he's like, I guess I can't stop because you're with me, I'm like, Dad, you want to go in or go in, I'll drink a Mountain Dew, I know if Jesus was here today, he'd be in the bars, he's not going to be drinking, but you got to go where the sinners are at. You got to go to reach them, So I went in with them, and drank a Mountain Dew, but yeah, it took a while for him to open up to me, and I pray for him every day. I spoke at Cheneysville Church a few weeks ago, and my parents come and listened, and I didn't share this part there because my dad was there. But I pray every day, that my parents will go to church, and they have been going to that church since I spoke there.
Praise God.
And that's an answered prayer. The importance, I'm going to get into another thing here. I got one more verse. But the importance of having a church. I believe you can have a relationship with the Lord outside of not going to church, but I believe that because I know my mom has a relationship with God. I know she does. She always has, but I'm so glad that she's going to church. But you don't have the growth. Going to church is being together is your family, like Tracy is saying, and having that fellowship together, having somebody to pray with. And this verse, it's I'm shaking a little bit. Matthew 18:20. For where there's 2 or 3 gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. So, that verse to me is saying, 2 or 3 is a group. And what's a church but a group of people that's gathered together in the Lord's name, And it says, when you gather together in my name, he shall be in the midst of it. So, you can have a relationship with the Lord on your own, but you're more probable to have a better relationship with the Lord when you have a church to go to. And when you're in a group and he's in the midst of you, you're going to grow together. I know I've been here the first time I ever come here. I rode with PJ in Honorbound, but I've never heard him preach. First time I come here, he didn't even preach. there was a song that we were praying. I don't know if you remember that we were singing. And it just, the Spirit was in the room, in this room. And he didn't even preach. It just took away. Everybody was just standing. And that was just amazing because you was a group of people together in the Lord's name. And he was in the midst of it. Amen. But to get, that's my trying to be a preacher, I guess.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah. But this is the first time I've shared that, so hopefully I get better. So pray for me that next week it gets a little better and I'm not as nervous. But that's the thing I've always heard too, when people don't go to church and they say they have a relationship with the Lord. But I believe. I heard it from my dad, my friends. So I don't go to church, but I believe in God. Well, this isn't a scripture, but this is something I kind of borrowed from Uncle Tom. But it says Christianity without commitment is Christianity without Christ. Okay? So you can say you believe all you want. The demons, the devils, they believe in God too, but they don't follow God. They don't commit to God. They believe in Him, but if you don't have the commitment, then you don't have Christianity. I mean, what is Christianity without the word Christ in it? So that's why I try to tell my dad it's more than just believing in God. It's a life choice. It's a commitment. It's going to church, giving your heart to Jesus, and trying to live the best you can. Now, we're never going to be perfect. I tell Dad, you're not going to be perfect. There's only one being that's ever been perfect on this earth, and that was Jesus Christ. You're not going to be perfect, but you got to live your life the best you can. Giving it to Christ. We're going to make mistakes. The other thing I'm sure you guys all heard, I love the saying. The difference between a person that has Jesus and a person that doesn't is with me being in Jesus. When I fall, I know He's there to pick me up. And I think that's where I'm going with that. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a minute. But to get a little bit into the accident, I know everybody likes to hear updates, and kids think scars are cool. But yeah. Like Laura, she said about covering them up or something. But I scars tell stories, and it's to my testimony that I can share this. Being in the motorcycle ministry too, there's no such thing as a biker that hasn't been down. It happens. Some are less than others, but I might be on the road. We were in, down New Orleans, Little Sturgis, and Rick was talking to a guy, and I wheeled up, and he told him my story, and the guy was so interested. And first he was yelling about the woman that hit me, and swearing and everything, and then I got to tell him, well, let me tell you what I've got out of it. It's been horrible and it's been hard. It's been really hard on my wife. She goes to work. Now she's back full time and she's got to come home and take care of me, That's my hardest part, is having somebody have to take care of me and not to be able to do anything on my own. I told the guy, I was like, if the Lord would give me the choice to go back and take it back, who wouldn't, But at the same time, the blessings that I've received out of this have been just stacked up, more than I could ask for. You hear about all the bad in the world, and our little town, Everett and Bedford County, we'll just say Bedford County, the churches and just regular people, and that's the stuff they've done for me and my family. With prayers, financially, I don't have words to explain it. It's just a blessing, and it's from the Lord. I am not good being by myself. I struggled in the hospital at nighttime when they would have to leave. You'd have your visitors, and that's when the devil would whisper in your ear, and you say, why me? Why this happened to me? And it would be hard. It got so bad that they gave me my own room and allowed my wife and my mom to stay with me. The Lord knows what I need, and I have people coming to me all the time, and I need that. I can't do it on my own. I got Jesus Christ, but I got the fellowship of my brothers and sisters too, and my friends and family that come for me. They come and see me. They call me. when I was in a home, there was a lot of people in there that didn't have that. And I don't know what I would do. I don't think I could handle it, you know. This woman, she broke my heart every night. I didn't tell you what she looked like because I couldn't get up and walk out of the room. But I could hear her down the hall every night, and it would just bring me to tears. She'd be crying, you know, I want my kids, I want to see my kids, I want my kids, and she'd just be crying. And then, you know, I'm lucky. I have my kids, they come and saw me, my wife come and saw me. And, you know, there was days that she couldn't be there. You're talking about being emotional. She'd be gone for a day and then come back the next day and I'd be bawling, I missed you so much, you know. And like I said, I saw people in there that didn't have that. And it just made me feel really blessed. And the Lord did that for me, you know. The Lord brought her in my life. Like I said, I only started going back to church because I wanted to date her. I wanted her mom when she was in church. So that was a stepping stone. I wasn't there yet. And then, you know, then we had kids and she started going back to church. Everything was a stepping stone. But it makes me wonder, you know, the path I was on before I met her, you know, I lived in a bar and every weekend I worked away. I'd get home and went right to the bar. I mean, I bought my first motorcycle. It was a Sportster, just a little bike, you know, pretty fun. I still got it. That was my bar hopper. That's what I did. Never wore a helmet. I didn't wear a helmet when I started riding with Honor Bound one time, and I heard about it. So, you know, I wear a helmet every time I ride. Even, you know, I definitely will now. But even before, you know, I started wearing a helmet all the time. You know, people care about you. They tell you you're being stupid. You know? So, you know, it saved our lives. I've had a lot of injuries, but I didn't have a head injury. We didn't have any internal injuries. You know, and that was the Lord that carries. There was a fence right there. We flew over the car, and I landed on the other side of the fence, and Tucker landed in front of it. How did we not hit that fence? It was right there. How did we not hit it? Because God was there for us. He carried me over that fence. He put Tucker in front of it. I mean, it's just amazing. But now I want to get into the actual accident. You know, Tucker, he broke his tib fib, and she hit us on the left side. I broke my femur, so I got to ride up here. I broke my tib fib, so I got to ride down there. I think when she hit us, it turned the wheel and it snapped my wrist right here. This scar looks big, but so we thought that's how big the pleat was till we saw the x-rays for the first time. I wish I could bring pictures. I'm going to get copies someday because you got to see that thing. It's wow, it's a big old plate in there, dozens of screws in it. And then the amazing thing, the doctor that fixed my bones was a Christian doctor. I don't know how many Christian doctors are out there, but I don't believe there's many. And his name's Dr. Tarkin. Awesome dude. I mean, it took me 3 months to finally get to meet him, but he was an awesome dude. But he told my wife and my mom, he said, look, I fixed the wrist 100% and the leg 100%. He said, I fixed his pelvis to the best of my ability. He said, my pelvis was one of the worst that he's ever had to fix. He put 2 plates in the front of it, like kind of overlapping a little bit, and 2 screws in the back. And he prayed over me. He said he prays over all his patients, you know. You know what? As bad as he said my pelvis was, I don't have any problems. I don't have any pain in my pelvis. And, I mean, yeah, praise God. It's awesome. You know, the pelvis can be pretty painful, I'm told, but and I didn't feel any of the bone stuff. That was all fixed before I come up too, you know. This is all ligaments, and I wish it would have broke because I hate this leg. It just doesn't work right, you know. God's working on it. It's God's timing, not my own, and I know He's trying to teach me patience, and that's a hard one to learn. But after the accident, I don't know if I was knocked out or not, but I remember being there. I can't see anything, but I just remember all the sounds. And a girl I went to school with, I graduated with, her and her husband, she was behind Laura in the car. Laura was behind us, and she saw her son and husband, you know, go, this happened. And I heard Lori's voice first. She said, Eric, it's Lori. This is Lori, you're going to be okay. And the first thing was, I can't feel my legs because I was paralyzed. And I'm praying to God right then, please, you know. My wife's cousin Christopher was in a car accident years ago, and he's paralyzed from the waist down. And not that I didn't respect him before, but I have a lot of respect for him because I have a little bit of idea what he has to go through on a daily basis. I'm going to heal, and no matter how down I get, I got to remember I'm going to walk again. And you know, we have hope that He will, and we have faith that He will. But it's been several years. So we don't know if he's ever going to walk again. So I look to him when I get down because he's my buddy. We sit in the back together in a world change, you know. But yeah, so I'm laying there, and I didn't remember that Tucker was with me. You know, I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, what had this happened, you know? And then I hear him yelling. And my son, 9 years old, you know what he was yelling? He's yelling, I want God. I want God. I need God. There were some guys on the ambulance, I know, I don't want to throw them under the bus and put their names out there, but they don't go to church. And I remember hearing him come up to my wife when I was laying there, because she was with me at the time, and he's like, man, your son's freaking me out. Well, he's not freaking you out. He's laying something on your heart. That's what he did. His wife, who I know and Jonathan knows as well, Pastor Jonathan, actually ran into her at Bob Evans, and she come up and told him, you know, that maybe there might be hope there now because Tucker planted a seed. And I tried to explain to him, I said, look, you were in pain. You knew you needed God. You know, you turned where you needed to turn, and you planted a seed, and you're not even trying. That's how amazing God is. He uses every part of your life, the good and the bad, you know. And I'm so proud of my son because end of our church, and Laura and I would get a little bit of credit for it, you know. He knew he had to turn to God. And that goes back to, again, having the importance of church. He's been in church since he's been born. And my youngest son, he's 6 years old, and he was kind of left in the car, you know. Laura had to run out and ask somebody to go and watch him, you know. And he's only 6, you know. He knows we're hurting and know we were in an accident, but, you know, I don't know if he completely understands, but I know he understands enough because my wife went with Tucker, and we had to go. And luckily, Uncle Tom and Aunt Tracy, they were at Mike's, and it wasn't too far away. And so we left, and Aunt Tracy took Hunter. And he looks at Aunt Tracy, and he says, Aunt Tracy, take me to Daddy's bike. So she took him to my bike. And, I mean, it was pretty mangled. They totaled it. And when they get there, he says, Aunt Tracy, we need to pray. Now, Aunt Tracy is also his Sunday school teacher. She has him every Sunday. Yeah, she's a great Sunday school teacher. I mean, our church, Aunt Tracy is a big part of my life. She helped me in the prayer night. You know, she helps my kids in Sunday school. And a 6-year-old boy knowing that he needs to pray for his daddy and his brother, it's just amazing, you know. But you talk about being a proud dad and proud mom. I mean, in today's world, you know, kids don't get what they should. And I know I've talked to Tucker's friends, you know, and he has a real good friend. I haven't shared this before, it just kind of popped in my head, so I think I'm supposed to tell you. But when I woke up, the first day I woke up, Tucker's best friend is, his name's Johnny, and I work with his dad, and we grew up together. His mom babysat me when we were kids. So we have 2 boys, they have 2 boys, they're the same age, same grade. We spend a lot of time with these people, but Johnny don't go to church. And I'm laying there after I woke up, and he finally took that tube out of my throat, and I could talk a little bit. I said, honey, you got your phone? She said, yeah. I said, get Johnny Golden's number. I said, I want to call him right now. And she did. And he called. He's like, oh my gosh, man, it's so great to hear your voice and everything. I said, okay, but you need to listen to me. I said, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to call you right now. And I need you to go to church. I need you to take your boys. I need you to take your boys. Your boys need to be in church. You need to go to church. I said, if you want to wait till I get out of here and go, and you go with me, that's great. I said, but you need to go. And he promised me he would, you know. I just was talking to his cousin, who's another guy I work with. My buddy, he was raised, he goes to church, good guy. I love him to death. And I told him, I forgot all about that. I forgot all about it. I was talking to Corey on the phone the other day. And I said, I gotta go tell him what he promised me. You know, he was going to go to church and he's going to take his boys. So I got a phone call to make this week. But yet, I've talked to Johnny about God and about Jesus. You know, we work in D.C., we got a long ride home. So I've talked to him a few times. He always says he wants to go to church, but I just can't get him quite there yet. We're working on it. And, but he tells me, you know, Johnny's come home, little Johnny has come home and asked them questions. And I know it's because Tucker has talked to him about it. And we take him with us when we have our VBS. But I'm so proud of my boys, Tucker. I'm proud of you. And I love you. I don't know how much more I got to go here. I hope I'm not rambling too much. I get all over the place, you know. I don't know if it's because I'm lazy like I was in school and just like to wing it, or I don't want to read it. I don't want, you know, I've said about writing stuff down so I can remember everything, but I don't want to read it. I lived it. I want everybody I speak to see the truth, you know, and when you read out of it, it kind of gets lost, you know, so I want to keep it real. You keep it real, you know. But I've learned a lot out of this. And when I was in the home, I got cards from you guys. I got cards from churches all over. And a notion popped in my head when I was reading the card. You need to go to these people and say thank you. So that's the other reason I'm here. I want to thank all of you for your prayers and concerns for my family. And I'm not one to send out thank you cards. I think being a person means more than a piece of paper, you know. And I guess I'm lazy and I don't want to fill them out. But I really do, from my whole heart, want to thank all of you guys. And I know that notion wasn't put in my head by accident. It was the Lord telling me you need to go. And, you know, I don't know everybody's heart, only the Lord does. Maybe somebody needs to hear what I'm saying. You know, every time before I speak, before I know it's coming, I pray to the Lord, give me the words that you want me to speak, the order you want me to speak in, because I think it's been different every time. But it's a different church every time too. So, you know, the Lord gives me the words that I need to speak. And when I get up and walk and I'm here, I'm telling you my story, but I'm not telling it because I want you to look at me. I want you to look at the Lord and see what the Lord has done. It's not me, it's what the Lord's done for me. I don't want it for my own glory, I want it for the glory of God. And that's the main thing when I'm up here. It's not about me. It's about what the Lord has done for me and my family. So I guess with that being said, you know, key things that you have to have Jesus in your heart, believe in the power of prayer, and have Christian friends and a home church that you can fellowship together. So if there's anything that you take out of this, that's what's important to me, and I think that's what the Lord laid on me to share. So again, I thank you, and I love you guys, you know. Oh, I got to put a little joke in there too. Okay, well, I got all my tattoos when I was young. Okay, I got this one tattoo, and I never wore shorts. I wear them now because they're easier to put on, and so I never really showed it off. And we were with, I think, we were in the Gerber's car, and me and PJ, or Pastor Jonathan, was in the back seat, and I made a big mistake. Talking about tattoos, and I got a tattoo when I was 19, was doing bad things, and, you know, didn't have a straight head. Now, you all might not be able to see it. I'll show it. I gotta live with it now, so I got a tattoo of a sun on my leg with a face on it. And I made a mistake of showing PJ. And then like a week later, it was like, hey, sunshine. Hey, sunshine. And I was like, no. That's not going to be my road name. It's not Sunshine. Now, you're not allowed to pick your road name, and you're not allowed to like it. And then finally I was like, okay, if you guys want to call me that, that's fine, but I'm not putting it on the vest. It's not happening. I said, and we're around these other 1% clubs and stuff, you best not call me Sunshine. You know, so one good thing that's come out of this, well, there's been several good things, but a good thing that's come out of this accident is I'm no longer Sunshine. I believe Tracy and my wife, I love you guys even more now, have come up with Iron Man, you know. my wife, my kids, we're a big Marvel. I love the Avenger movies. And I'm not going to lie, Captain America is my Avenger. But I got Iron Man because of all the metal that I got in me, and I was like, that is a lot cooler than Sunshine. And then one of our brothers in Ohio, which I kind of like it, but at the same time, he wanted to call me Humpty. He said, I don't care if you got Iron Man on it, I'm still calling you Humpty. So Humpty Dumpty, they put me back together again, So I said, yeah, but, we ride with other clubs. It might not be good to call me Humpty, Iron Man's a lot cooler. So they surprised me, which I kind of knew a little bit. I ordered a vest, and my leather guy told me it wasn't done. And I get to Little Sturgis down there, and Chad, he's a good brother too. I mean, Chad's one that put me in contact with Rick. But like I said, I get on the subject and I get ramble over. But they surprised me. I got my new vest, got all my old patches on, but there's one new one, and it says Iron Man on it. But I love it. So I got to share another. So I'm sorry, I talk too much. But Chad, when I first started riding with him, guys, he didn't have a bike or anything, so it was just, I always had to ride home by myself. I always had to ride home by myself after we leave. Because then Chad started riding and joined on about, so I got somebody to ride home to Artemis with, And Chad's road name was Twofer. And I was with him when he got that one. Chad and I, we share a lot together, so we both got our road names from being in an accident. We were down the stop sign, this last little straight stretch right before my house, a quarter mile away from my house. It's just, I'll see you later. It's a straight stretch, and you're almost home. See, it's that last little play. You get on it. We go up through there. So we're moving faster than we should have been. And it's 6 o'clock at night in October, and the sun's going down. I can't see nothing. I hear a boom, and at the time, Chad rode a Honda, so I thought his bike blew up. but yeah, I couldn't see nothing. I just heard it, and next thing I know, I had to swerve because I almost ran over my brother. I mean, he was going down through the road on his belly, he had his hands up, and we moved, had to slide real quick, and we were moving, so it took me a while to get stopped. By the time I got stopped, I turned around, Chad was already standing up, and he was trying to pick his bike up, so I knew he was okay. I turned around, I said, you're okay? He said, yeah. So I rode up to the house real quick. I'm honking the horn, revving the bike up, trying to get her to come out of the house. I said, I gotta go up and get the trailer. Chad's okay. He went down, get the peroxide. I said, there's ice cream in my saddlebag, get it out real quick. And we went for ice cream that day. If you guys know Rick, we gotta have an ice cream stop. And I felt guilty because my boys, you went for ice cream without me, So I didn't eat any, I just got a little bit and brought home for them. Got down got the trailer, got down there, and we're loading up the bike. I knew we hit a deer. We're looking, there's another one. He said, yeah, I hit 2 of them. I said, what? I couldn't believe he hit 2 of them. They were only like yearlings, so they wasn't really big. But all he got out of that was a little bit of road rash on his arm. He went to work the next day. So, the Lord took care of him there. I mean, that wasn't no accident. It could have been a lot worse than it was. 2 deer with a motorcycle. You hear about people hitting 1 deer, but 2 deer with a motorcycle. Wow. Well, I think PJ might have wanted to send the picture out. You go to Sheets and you see that 2 fur, 2 for 1 or 2 for 5. Well, you get 2 deer for 1 motorcycle. So Chad's 2 fur, I'm Iron Man. We both had accidents, and the Lord was with us, and we got cool road names now. So, but I'll finish that up. I don't want to keep too long. But I appreciate you guys letting me come here and speak today, and pray for me as I go on to other churches. Uncle Tom texted me this morning, so I knew it would be okay because he was praying for me.